Watch and burn.
Hey everybody, so tonight I want to discuss the 1986 film In a Glass Cage. Now, this movie is so fucked up. So basically what this tells the story of is a Nazi war criminal / pedophile by the name of Klaus, who experimented and raped a ton of specifically little boys during World War II in whatever concentration camp he was working out of. And originally he was health-wise, he was fine, but once he was living in exile wherever he was, after the war, he continued to assault little kids. And one of them ended up getting some evidence on him, and they were going to go to the police. So Klaus attempts to kill himself, but what happens is he doesn't die, and as the result of the injuries that he sustained through his failed suicide attempt, he ends up existing inside of an iron lung. And that's where the movie kicks off. Is his wife Griselda is Klaus's only caretaker, and she's getting sick of it. They have a daughter by the name of Rena, except Rena is kind of abused by Griselda because Griselda doesn't give a fuck about her, and she's just incredibly controlling and manipulative and verbally and emotionally abusive towards her daughter Rena. And Rena doesn't really know her father because he's always been in the iron lung, and so Rena doesn't really give a fuck. So Griselda decides to go outside to get help, and that's when this kid named Angelo enters. And Angelo is saying he's a nurse and he's going to do this and that, but Griselda puts together that Angelo isn't a nurse, so Angelo ends up killing Griselda, and this does not affect Rena at all because Rena doesn't, again, care about her mother much. And as it turns out, Angelo was one of Klaus's victims. And now Angelo is about 18, 19, I'm guessing, and he has come back to exact revenge on his abuser. And he does just that. I think the most accurate way to sum this movie up as far as how fucked up it is, at one point in the movie, Angelo ejaculates on Klaus's face because Klaus can't do anything because, again, he's in the iron lung. And all Angelo sets out to do is just to reenact every horrific thing that Klaus made him go through. He is now subjecting Klaus to it. And the mansion where they live, it's got this weird chicken wire in the front foyer where the staircase is going up. And I can't remember if that was explained why, but it does add this really sort of like heavy, sort of Big Brother-ish 1984 vibe to the mansion, because where they live, the estate looks like it's kind of falling apart. And then considering that there's like chicken wire everywhere, it really looks like it's falling apart. And it is so reminiscent of where Winston lives in 1984. It's just, this place looks rough, and I don't know. I got the impression that Klaus wasn't hurting for cash, but there was something, his estate was so tattered and so torn that sort of reflected him and what was left of Klaus's life, I suppose, because his wife didn't give a fuck about him. Angelo shows up, kills the wife anyways, and then Angelo just seeks out to sexually and physically and emotionally dominate Klaus. And then the end of the movie happens, and he pulls Klaus out of the iron lung, and he lets him die. He dies off without the lung's assistance, of course. He can't breathe, and he chokes out. And then Angelo slides inside of the iron lung. Well, first, technically, he goes after Rena in this. He takes on the role of this physically abusive and emotionally controlling parental figure. And then he goes up into the room where the iron lung is, and he slides himself inside of it, and he becomes Klaus, and he forces Rena to become him. So Rena climbs on top of the iron lung and starts to take her clothes off. Now, of course, you don't see anything, and considering that Rena is at best maybe 12 or 13, that's great. I don't want to see some 12-year-old girl strip anyways. But so she gets on top of the iron lung, and she begins to take her clothes off. It starts to snow, and then the image freezes, or the scene freezes, and then it shows both of them inside of a snow globe in the final shot of the movie where Angelo has become Klaus. This movie is so completely fucked up. My God, if you've watched 30 seconds of this, just go out and find this movie, okay? This movie is bleak, it's violent, it's so isolating, and I feel manipulated as the result of watching. Every time I watch this movie, I feel manipulated, emotionally speaking. This movie has such an incredible weight to it, and it's done so straight. There's no humor. This movie is 100% humorless. Angelo is there to exact revenge, and the audience doesn't really mind because Klaus is a pedophile piece of shit. This movie is so fucked up, and that's where I'm leaving it. Check this out. This movie is, the end of this movie is worth it alone. This movie is so raw, and the sex abuse is so real, and Angelo's need for revenge is just so focused and so unfettered that nothing is going to come between Angelo getting revenge on Klaus. And that is so apparent from the jump. The second Angelo is introduced, you fucking know Klaus is in trouble. This movie's incredible. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for just about 6 minutes while I discuss the probably little-known 1986 Spanish horror film, In a Glass Cage. Like always, if you like this review or you like this movie, don't forget to do something nice for somebody. But like always, please don't forget that the world is actually a better place because you are in it, okay? I mean every word of that.